So the bill for me is something that I think is it has been a long time in coming. I think that we need standards for the profession. I think and hope that it is going to bring some respect and respectability to teaching. The challenge I have with it before I get into my views on it is that, well, I've given my views on it, but a huge part of the challenge I have with it is the expectations that many people have. That given that we have this bill now, a lot of the problems in education are resolved. My call has always been that we need to fund education properly. Teachers operate within a context where if they don't have funding, it can affect their competence, it can affect their commitment, it can affect the respectability of the job they do. One of the other things is that the infrastructure in many schools, horrible. You don't want to just deal with the regulations, you want to also deal now with the spaces with which teachers work. And the spaces in which teachers work in Jamaica, highly problematic. We have to take care of that. One of the other things I think we have to pay some attention to are boards of management. We cannot continue to have boards of management where the board chairmen are operating at a level, it is not even just intellectually low, it's intellectually barren. And when you're talking about the fact that, and I'm not saying all chairmen are like that, but we have got to get to a point where we are not afraid of these political representatives. And we have got to say to them, boards of management are places where decisions are made about children and education. It cannot be a playground for political loyalty to be rewarded. We have to ensure that if we're going to bring respectability to the profession, that we're going to be dealing with that. We also have to deal with the fact that technology and internet and software provision to teachers really not there in a time when we expect pedagogy to be influenced by technology. We want to ensure that that is something that we take care of. So what I want is for us to understand that education needs more than just a bill. But I welcome the bill. What I hope now is that the same enthusiasm that has gone by our parliamentarians in passing this bill or actually tabling this bill will be the same enthusiasm in tabling some kind of framework within which you're going to properly fund education, fund transformation, some kind of framework in which you're going to say these are the minimum standards that we expect our teachers to work in. This is the minimum we need in terms of technology. These are some of the things that we need to pay some attention to. You know, there are some other things that we can get to, but the point I'm making, the bill, we want to ensure that we get the bill going. There are some things that people have problems with the bill that I really don't have a problem with. I maybe think that it's kind of superfluous in terms of the fines. Because in one section of the bill where it deals with fines for persons who are not registered, that section deals with the fact that the person, I think it's 24 or 25, it says that if you're not registered, you can be fined $500,000. But it is after you have been warned 21 days first, and then a second 21 days, then your employer, is told that you have not complied. So in my mind, I don't know that it had to go to that because the term appointment is terminated. I don't know that we have to go to a fine for that. It seems like an overkill that we have to take care of. So I take that from the JTA. Where I disagree is the fact that if a teacher now or somebody goes now to fraudulently decide that I am going to omit knowingly information to ensure that I become a teacher, or I add information knowingly to deceive in order to be registered as a teacher, I'm going to be fined $1.5 million. I have no problem if that is $2 million, because I wouldn't want a doctor who is fraudulent working on me. The same, I don't want a teacher who is fraudulent teaching my child. I think values are important, and if somebody is fraudulent in his own acts, I don't want him before my child. So I have no issues with that. The other section I think that there's controversy about that I could understand is the composition of the board. Professionalization of teaching is one of the things that, and we want to think that we want our people there. What I see there is that the majority of people on that body is teachers. But the language might be ambiguous in terms of suggesting that the person who can appoint most of them is the minister. We want to ensure that the language suggests, as it does for the 6 represented by, for example, the teachers union, that they are nominated by the union. I think it should explicitly say that these people are nominated by the particular organizations that they come from, so that there's no ambiguity for the ministers to manipulate, because this minister might be one of integrity, and other ministers might be, but there could be one or two that are not, and we cannot leave our legal system to be tainted by the lack of integrity of any politician. So we want to ensure that the language is clear. But all in all, I think that we have made some strides. One concern that principals had, that's addressed in section 29, is whether or not, for example, where we have a shortage of skills now, because really and truly we have a shortage. Where we have a shortage of skills now, are we going to be stopped, or hindered from employing a teacher who is pre-trained? But there is a provision in section 29 that allows for such persons to be employed, not forever, but once we can establish that there's a shortage of skill and the person has those skills, there's a provision for that person to be, in a kind of way, registered, or at least given a chance to be employed for the period of time once the skills are short. So I see those things as addressing many of the things. A final thing that I would say is that there is much in the bill that aligns it with the regulations, the teacher education regulations, and there are omissions out of the Education Act, the teacher education regulations, that are important to ensure that there, as I said, is an alignment. And a final point I'd want to make to my colleague teachers and principals and Jamaica: read the bill for yourself. Allow no one to interpret it for you. Read it for yourself and don't make judgments based on anybody's interpretation. Where things are not okay about it, we expect them to be changed, and we must have conversations. A final point I'll make too is that I'd appeal to the ministry. Listen to the concerns that people have, and where changes can be made with tweak, because I think it's an important enough bill for us to have consensus on and ensure that it works in the interest of everyone.